Today, we're not just going to learn some new vocabulary. We're going to live it. We're taking a little trip to a very peculiar village called Brightbrook. And through the story of its residents, we're going to see how each of these words comes to life. And, how these small acts of character can create some pretty amazing energy. So let's dive in. All right, so our story kicks off in this charming little village, Brightbrook. But, don't let that quaint look fool you. From the very first moment, we know something here is different. Something is wonderfully out of the ordinary. And here it is, the hook that just pulls you right in. An anomaly. So what is this strange thing that doesn't fit? It's a tiny talking cloud. It's a fantastic setup that immediately makes you wonder, okay, what exactly is an anomaly? At its heart, an anomaly is really just a break from what you expect. Think of a fish that can fly, or a scorching hot day in the middle of winter. For Brightbrook, it's a talking cloud. It's the perfect word for something so beautifully strange, isn't it? So how did the villagers react to a talking cloud? Instead of, running for the hills, they approached it with zeal, this great energetic curiosity. Even the village's erudite resident, that's the most learned, the wisest one, an old owl, he came to observe this strange enigma. This delightful little puzzle just floating there in the sky. So this whole strange event, it happens just as the village is getting ready for its annual spring festival. And it's right here, in the middle of all the celebration, that we get to meet a whole cast of characters whose personalities are going to teach us even more. And right away, we see two totally clashing personalities. First, you've got this audacious rabbit. He's daring, he's bold, and he just loves to advocate for, to champion the loudest, most exciting games. And then you've got the hedgehog. He feels this deep antipathy, a real strong dislike for all that noise, and chooses to abstain. He just holds back from the party altogether. Oh, and the contrasts, they don't stop there. We meet a peacock who absolutely adores ostentation. A flashy look-at-me kind of display. He's also prodigal, or really wastefully lavish with his beautiful feathers. Now, compare that to the quiet bear. He's philanthropic, always looking for ways to help others out, and his simple, generous acts are truly laudable, completely worthy of praise. So during the festival, a squirrel puts on this little puppet show, and one of its main characters is described as ingenuous, which means incredibly innocent, sincere, and just totally unsuspecting. This honest, almost childlike puppet is such a breath of fresh air compared to some of the other, more complicated festival goers. Now, try to picture two very different kinds of conversations. On one side, you have this garrulous parrot, just so ridiculously talkative, it feels like he never stops to take a breath. And on the other side, the wise tortoise. He's laconic. He's a creature of very few words, but every single one he says is thoughtful and really, really important. But right at the peak at the festival, everything changes. A really dramatic turn brings two big conflicts to Brightbrook at the same time. A literal storm from the sky and a lie that starts spreading on the ground, threatening all that good energy they've built up. It all starts with this capricious wind, sudden and totally unpredictable. A few moments later, rain begins to precipitate from the sky. Then a thick fog rolls in, making a nearby willow tree completely opaque, just impossible to see through. All this chaos turns the lovely festival music into a dissonant, clashing mess. And as if a huge storm wasn't enough, a second problem pops up. A sly little fox starts telling this really confusing story, causing all sorts of trouble. See, he has this very specific and very problematic habit. He likes to prevaricate. The story uses this fantastic word, and it's a really crucial one, to prevaricate. It's more than just telling an outright lie. It's a much more specific, more subtle kind of deception. It's all about intentionally making things murky. So to prevaricate is basically to dance around the truth. It's an evasive, slippery way of talking. The fox's story was intentionally ambiguous. You could say it was equivocal, and it was designed to confuse everybody by just avoiding a straight answer. And you know what? It worked.
Okay, so you've got a storm, you've got a lie, the village is at a breaking point. But this is the moment where a community's true character really shows itself. This is where we find out if all those earlier virtues can create some real vitality. This is how Brightbrook responded.
I mean, just look at how they all worked together. They acted immediately to mitigate the storm's damage, to lessen its impact. That erudite owl, he worked to corroborate the truth, finding facts to confirm what really happened. They even managed to placate an obdurate, and that means incredibly stubborn, mule. In every little thing they did, they tried to assuage each other's worries and soothe their fears.
So ultimately, the villagers faced a choice. They could panic and let the whole situation become volatile, unstable and explosive. But instead, they chose to bolster one another, to provide support and strength right when it was needed most. And that single decision, it changed everything. This storm's past, the truth is finally out. So, after all that chaos and cooperation, what did the residents of Brightbrook actually learn? What's the wisdom they gained from all that turmoil? The story leaves us with these clear, powerful lessons. First, don't prevaricate. Don't evade the truth. Avoid empty ostentation. Be ingenious, that's clever and original, in your kindness. Don't adulterate or, pollute that kindness with sneaky motives. And never, ever deride or mock someone just for being different. The children, they learned a beautiful lesson too. They felt a gentle veneration or a deep respect for small, kind moments. They understood that these things can often be ephemeral, they're fleeting, lasting only for a little while, which, of course, makes them all the more precious. But if you had to just boil down every single lesson from that eventful day, it all comes back to this: the simple, powerful advice from our laconic tortoise who used just 2 words to say everything that mattered. Be kind. And that simple truth, it was totally transformative. The musical dissonance from the storm, it turned back into harmony. What might have become apathy was replaced by fervid, truly passionate applause as all the villagers celebrated each other. And so our story comes full circle. The talking cloud, still a gentle anomaly, floated away, but it left something behind. It left a feeling of zeal, that same enthusiasm from the beginning, but now it was aimed with purpose at kindness and community. The story of Brightbrook, with all its wonderful words, shows us how these small, virtuous actions are what create the energy and life that make a community strong. Which leaves us with one last thought. How can those same small acts create that kind of vitality in your world?